Good afternoon, everybody. I think, all right, hold on. A couple people's audio is not connected there yet. I'll give it 1 second. And let me just pop back that waiting room because I just had to remove a couple of the bots there. As everybody knows or should know, in case you're new, I always post this recording as well in the school community, usually about 2 hours once this call finishes. So around 5 to 6 p.m. Eastern on Tuesdays, if anybody ever wants to go back and check out the recording, I post it there. But I don't let everybody's bots in here because it comes confusing. They all chime in the chat, and sometimes they pause my recordings, and it's just a pain in the you know what. So, yeah, this is a very small turnout early on. Now I know I had quite a few clients messaging me saying they were traveling this week, yada yada yada, which is great. Spending time with family, and I understand the holiday weekend coming up. Nothing wrong with that whatsoever. I could have opted to do that, but I just blocked out Friday myself to do some family stuff with my daughter. Spend some time with some friends out on the lake for a 4th of July cookout. So that'll be cool. But I didn't elect to take a longer week or anything. What I want to cover here, guys, today is, again, really, really quick. I think at least Dan and Nathan, I know you guys have been on quite a few of my workshops. Nathan just some recently, and I think we have a one-on-one call booked tomorrow, Nathan, to go over some stuff, which we may even have time to dive into a little today. We'll see, with only 3 of us. And Ed, I'm not sure if we've met or this is my first workshop, your first workshop of mine that you've attended, but I don't recall the name. So I can't remember everybody, but oh, there you go, Ed. Now I recognize the face now. Okay. The name threw me off for a minute. As soon as I saw the face, I definitely remembered. Nice to see you on again as well.
Happy 4th of July. Happy 4th of July.
Results you were getting.
Yeah. Good to see you.
Any updates since we last spoke, Ed? Anything cool or new that you've been working on?
Yeah, well, I had 2 leads today, and maybe you could tell me if you think there's a opportunity. I don't know if I'm willing to break into the flow a little bit.
No, go ahead.
This is a gentleman that is doing something in the real estate agent service. He's trying to coordinate them, do a cloud service, generate leads for them. And so he has 2 kind of asks. One, generate leads for real estate agents, residential or commercial. Obviously, a lead for residential real estate agents. Hey, I'm looking to buy a new house, looking to sell my house, or some combination. That's pretty obvious. And on the commercial side, hey, I'm looking to buy real estate commercial property, or hey, I'm trying to sell my property. That's kind of the lead side. But then he's trying to find more real estate agents' contact information to talk to. So any real estate agent in the state, I'm trying to come up with a method to do that. Yeah, I typed in the SIC codes and the NISC codes, and that didn't seem to get me too far. So I'll stop there, and I got one other lead to talk about, but that's the real estate agent story.
Okay, great. No, and I know we're able to get that stuff. Again, you may know, Ed, and again,
I know you're not the superpower, but
no, I'm not when it comes to like the tech side and in-platform audience building, but I know specifically for that niche and that industry and exactly kind of the objective you're looking for on kind of threefold there, right? You mentioned the first 2, but even the agents, it's kind of its own separate thing in addition, a list of all agents. So I know we have clients doing that, and I know there's ways to do that. Are you connected with, or do you have Jaden's contact information? Jaden Delport on the team?
I should probably, I don't have it, easily handy. I haven't been too active on this recently.
That's great. Let me just make sure real quick before I'm sorry, guys, if I'll get to everybody else momentarily. Let me just make sure. So you're active in our school community, correct?
Yes.
See if you're on this workshop.
Yes.
Let me just make sure I can find you in there, make sure that it's easily found before I skip to something else. And then I'll just make a note and I'll send you over his direct information.
Sorry to interrupt, Raymond. A quick suggestion, and I hope it's not too stupid, but would it be fair for you guys to share each of you guys' information and then say who to contact for what? Because I bet this is not the first time you refer to someone from the team for a specific area or reason, right?
I'm not exactly sure what you're asking. Like normally, I mean, I think I know what you're asking, but normally these workshops have kind of specific objectives. Mine's the DaaS sales type of thing. So it's not designed for that type of question, right? If I get something that's kind of outside the scope of the workshop, I go direct him to the guy who would be best to handle that. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. So maybe you misunderstood me. So I say, okay, there's 4 or 5 of you, and one will be the tech guy, the other one will be different, right? So if we could get the contact, I don't know if there's a place where you have the contact information where you say, hey, if you have a tech issue, you go here, and if it's for sales, then you go to me, and this is my contact information. So you don't have to, you can always refer to a data sheet instead of sending contact numbers back
Yeah,
and
I
forth.
mean, yeah, that's something we can look at or do. I mean, again, that's kind of described when you get your one-on-one call with me, and then I send you all the information and the one-on-one link to book with support and the direct contact information with Jaden and Lewis and my direct contact. So that's also in an email when we first meet that I sent to each person individually. Yeah. That's something I'll take a note of and we can look at doing. Ed, when I type your name in school to try to find you, are you listed as your name appears on the screen? Because nothing's punching up.
Yeah, I work with Eric Kipperman, so that's how it comes in.
So if I email to that address, you would get the DM.
Yeah.
Okay, I found Eric Kipperman, and I definitely remember the name and conversations. So when I see that name commenting or in school, that's actually you.
Well, we work together.
Okay, okay. Either way, I will immediately send over in a DM in school right to Eric's DM. I'll send Jaden's direct contact information as well as our one-on-one universal support link. That's kind of general support questions.
Yeah, sure. No,
But
that's fine.
Jaden is specifically best for this particular instance on what you were talking about.
Yeah, no, I need to focus in how to help that guy. Then he'll maybe buy some leads, and maybe that'll help all of us.
Yeah, because I definitely think we can help and we can do exactly what you're looking for in that particular market, in that particular niche. Matter of fact, even recently when I was building a list for myself for my brother who owns his own brick and mortar business, and I was in platform doing it, I actually got on with Jaden and had him walk me through things, and I missed two subsets or two categories that actually made the audience both larger and higher quality. So even when I, still audience build, because I don't do that day in and day out, I even reach out to my best guys on my team. I'm like, what am I missing? And they make my audience a little better or find something that I was missing. So again, I don't like to be the best to answer those questions because I still ask for help from my team, and that's what they do all day. So yep, I'll DM you over Jaden's information, and you set up with him. He'll walk you right through that process and how to best go about that.
Sounds good.
Awesome. So, guys, what I want to get into again, and right now in the chat, real quick, I'm going to go in here and just drop the link to the Google Doc that I'm about to bring on my screen, and that I send out, when you have a one-on-one call with me. And that is kind of the best overall seller's resource document. So I'm going to hit screen share now and just share this real quick and run through it for anybody that hasn't seen this before. Then I want to get into a little of what I want to cover for a new lesson today. And then I'm going to dive back into a Q&A for everybody on the call. But yeah, this is the document that I just dropped the link there into the chat. And again, the 8 resources or 8 links that are located within this document is number one, I put on a Google document the exact sales process that I would build out for my DaaS agency. Number two, again, that document has the build out, the game plan, timeline, expectations, all that. Number two is the tutorial with me going a little more in depth and going in detail on that document on anything I might have kept, in short definition form. Number three, just updated a few of these campaigns within the last 10 days for sure, but I'm always sharing with you guys the current ads and email and creative and copy and everything that we're creating internally to bring in new data clients day in and day out. Number 4 and 5 on my screen are the 2 scripts that I recommend using in the sales process for your triage call. Number 4 on my screen for your sales or demo call. Number 5 on my screen would be the script or framework I would recommend. Number 6, of course, is a copy of the authority pitch deck we put together for anybody looking to resell this. This has nothing branded to Audience Lab, so when you see it, click on it, download your own copy, and then swap out the first slide with your own branding, image, company name, whatever you guys want on there. But that just is a short, succinct pitch deck that I recommend you use on the sales call. That shows you really quickly the power and how we get highly targeted audiences using our audience builder. How our identity resolution tool works. It has about a half dozen to a dozen different case studies and niches and industries that we can show people. Number 7, I go a little more in depth about our identity resolution, our SuperPixel tool, and how I would price that or sell that if I were you guys. And then specifically within that tutorial down in the description is the link to our Pixel calculator, which I recommend any of you guys getting sales calls and possibly pitching the Pixel to somebody, use the calculator and get a rough guesstimate of how much revenue they're leaving on the table by simply entering how many hits they get per month to their website, the average order value of their product and or service, and the average conversion rate that their website currently converts at. By entering those metrics, there might be one other thing, but I think those three are the basic. We can usually get a rough guess of how much revenue they're leaving on the table by not using an identity resolution tool. And then number 8, when you open this up and then click on the document that pops up down below, that's about 20 or 25 of my call recordings. So you guys can go back, whoever is getting on sales calls on your team, and listen to some of the terminology, the verbiage, the structure that I use, because I don't use a script and no two calls are going to be alike, but you'll see definitely some glaring things that you can implement into your sales calls and your sales process that should come in handy. So again, I know a couple people hopped on as I was explaining this, so I'm going to go throw the link to this again one more time in the chat here. And anybody who hopped on late, if you want this document or haven't already seen it, I just kind of went over, this is the best resources to build out your entire DaaS sales process, showing you everything you should need and all the resources, and I just kind of described it. So there's the link to that again. Now, what I kind of want to cover today and what I find interesting, when it comes down to selling anything, it all comes back to our offers. We work with a lot of different agencies here, right? We have people that have full stack agencies. We have people that are bolting DaaS onto their existing services and their existing agency offering, and that's pretty universal, whether it's a boutique agency, just doing email or just doing copy and they want to bolt on DaaS, or you could be a full stack marketing agency, kind of doing everything from ads to copy to email, and you want to add on that data tool. Some people want to make DaaS the feature of their agency, and that's all they want to focus on. Some people on the call are starting their DaaS agency from scratch, and it's kind of the model they want to launch their first or their next agency with. They may have had one in the past. But regardless, we all need our offers dialed in, right? And that's something I work with you guys on. I get a lot of questions about this, and I get a lot of, I would say, real time, throughout the week feedback through school DMs and Facebook messages. Hey, Ray, what do you think about this price and how I'm packaging it and how I'm offering it? It's good to always be brainstorming and kind of revisiting that. So I want to start with that today, because there's some universal laws, for lack of a better phrase. I don't like the word laws, but some universal truths, I would say, in terms of effective offers and really understanding them. So I'm going to run through the basic aspect of the lesson. I'm going to correlate that more toward DaaS and Audience Lab toward the end, and then I'm going to make sure there's time for a Q&A. But what I want to start with is one thing that is universally agreed upon with any marketer that I know who knows, and anybody much higher above me in terms of overall online sales. Let's just say 50 online digital marketers, again, used loosely, they could have different expertise, that have all earned over $1 million in a year within their digital, product or service funnel. If you asked all 40 or 50 of them, however many I just said, I forget, in the room, I can guarantee you universally, they would all come to the same conclusion that all offers fall down to these different 4 layers or 4 levels or layers, depending on, the verbiage you want to use. And the first one would be the must be nice offer. So what does that mean? A must be nice offer, and what this is referring to for anyone that's not sure, is the amount of pain that we're kind of diving into, right? It must be nice to get that solved. Oh, I'm getting bit by a mosquito, smack it off. It must be nice. It must be nice to have that cream right now, right? It's nothing that's going to change their life universally. But it is certainly something that has every product or service is solving a problem. This is just a very entry level one, right? Right now, I'm hungry and it's lunchtime. I'm going to go to a restaurant and their offer is their menu and their food, and that's going to solve my hunger problem, right? Or I want to go get lunch. Those are small little, must be nice to go out and get lunch, food from a restaurant rather than having to cook something from home, or years ago, right? Must be nice having a restaurant that can cook something rather than having to go hunt for your own meals the way people used to have to do it. So those are very, low pain point threshold type of offers that are great and some people do well with. What I would say is the lower offer, or the higher one on this scale, I'm starting off with number 1, the lowest pain point. What I would say is the people that have the success with these offers are really strong with their marketing skills, and maybe they're very strong with their budget and their advertising budget as well. But I don't care how big your budget is. If you don't have your positioning and your messaging and your angles and your hooks down, you still have to be a strong marketer to make anything work. Point being, the stronger your offer is, and when we dive into the deeper layers of this, your marketing skills are really less relevant in terms of your success, which simply means if I have a strong enough offer, I don't care. I'm going to probably outsell and out earn every other strong marketer that really has higher marketing skills and acumen than me, but they have a shittier offer. I'm probably going to do better than them, even as a lower level marketer, just because the offer is that much better. And that's really the truth when it comes down to it. Right. So this is what I'd say. Number one, right, is the must be nice offer, which can be a number of things and a number of ways I can correlate. Right. The second layer of depth of this would be an annoyance offer, right? And that would be going a little deeper, right? You could even kind of, to a degree, the example I gave for the mosquito, I guess you could look at as an annoyance. But my point is, it's solving a bigger pain point in this particular example. So let's look at the must be nice offer as like a paper cut. The annoyance offer would be more like a scrape or a bruise, something that I probably should go get checked out, but maybe I won't, right? And it's got a little more pressing of an issue. So in the food service industry, instead of just being hungry and needing something for lunch, more of an annoyance offer would be I haven't eaten in 2 or 3 days and I only have under $5, right? That's where a dollar menu would come in as a solution and be have more urgency in that offer than a much be nice offer. So you can even have the same offers in the same industries, and what can change between the levels or layers of offer, and I'll cover this a little more, are going to be who you're selling it to and the sophistication level of that market. Meaning, I can make a must be nice offer seem like an annoyance offer to the right person in the right level of pain with the right messaging. So again, these can be a little flip flop, but generally speaking, you as the expert or the business owner within your offer, you really know which one yours is, right? Number three, and the one most fall into, and the one that most millionaires fall into, and the ones we all think about when we're like crafting an avatar. And one of your first business coaches probably ever told you, think about what keeps your ideal client up at night staring at the ceiling, right? And that's what the number three layer or level offer would be of the four. It's the keeps me up at night offer, right? And that's the one that I certainly think that almost all of my offers fall into. I don't know, and I don't think I've had a layer four offer myself. I can think of some clients that have, and I can think of certain times and certain positioning and with certain prospects where it played into that layer four. But generally speaking, as the business owner and what I know, a majority of my offers and where PDocs made its first 1.6 million cash collected in the first year, where Audience Labs is now going to do 10 million in revenue this year, where my Sales Labs offers, they all pretty much fall in the keeps me up at night category. Some may even be downgraded, especially some of the entry level ones, into the more annoyance offer. Write your first ad that actually gets a click, right? Or that actually books you a call. Like that I wouldn't say is necessarily keep me up at night offer. That might be more of an annoyance offer. And again, depends, and we'll talk about that more on the sophistication level and the pain point of your market, and really knowing that. And then the last layer I would like to dive into, and the real winners, if you ever find one of these, and what I've noticed from the gurus that do real well, and a lot of them, I would say almost all of them, almost anybody you could think of, whether it's the Russell Brunson, the Alex Hormozy, I mean, go on and name 5 or 10 other big marketing gurus. I don't care which ones you follow or who they are. None of their main offers and none of how they made their money, they actually had what I would call a bleeding out offer. They more had the keeps me up at night offer too, but they also have a very, very high level of marketing skills, acumen, budget, and a certain amount of what we're going to cover as well in this, which is contingent to their success, as opposed to maybe me or you, is the trust and the authority that they've already generated in the market. There's some big differences there. But a bleeding out offer is exactly what it sounds like. There's no other solution. You got stabbed in the neck with a pencil and your jugular is bleeding. You go in the emergency room and you want it fixed, and there's no cost or no quorums. You're just getting it done and addressed. There's no other option, right? And again, I have clients that have these offers and they're great. And a lot of them that are, again, definitely not at my level or my team's level. I don't even want to say myself by any means, but our level of marketing acumen and technology savvy and sales numbers that I put up myself, I can certainly vouch for and say most of those people can't compete with, but they're crushing us. And some of my clients that are in some of these offers are doing 2 to 3 million a month, where we're doing probably 500,000 to 700,000 a month with our primary offer and our primary brand, and it's because they have exactly that offer. So I could go through and I'll give a couple examples of each, but again, let's think of this because we always make analogies within marketing to the medical industry. If you ever think about it, a triage call, what does that go back to? It goes back to triaging a patient, diagnosing where they are, and what room do we put them in, or what doctor, or what treatment, right? And everything we do. And that was some of the analogies I made. So the must be nice, a paper cut, right? The annoyance offer, a scrape or bruise, something that might need a stitch or some medical treatment, but also something I could probably treat at home if I'm a tough guy, right? And then the keeps me up at night would be moderate but consistent pain and discomfort, right? Tooth pain. Think about something like you could go a couple of days without it, but goddamn, it's keeping you up at night, right? I have chronic back problems and I have fractured vertebrae. When my back is really bad and I'm going through one of them flare ups, that's what I would call the keep me up at night pain. But it's not to the point where I need to go in an emergency room and get treated or I'm going to die. It's not bleeding out, right? No matter how pressing the pain comes, I can still function and I'll still be alive tomorrow. I might not have much sleep and I might cancel calls on my calendar and not be very sharp, but it's not going to kill me overnight, right? So, and then the bleeding out offer is just simply self-explanatory. There's no other way to phrase it, right? It's a pressing issue that needs solving now. Now, the offers that fall in that category, and again, I kind of sidetracked. What I was going to say is if you find one of these guys, especially yourselves, and you're running it or you're part of it, don't share it with anybody and don't tell people what it is, number one, because when people see this, especially other gurus and the people I was talking about, any of those that might have any of these offers, they've never crafted any, but they have copied people and got to market faster or first with them and mimic them. But the bleeding out offers are the things people are going to steal, and the people are things are going to steal and just try to be very unethical and sleazy about in the industry. And we've all heard horror stories. But a bleeding out offer, if I ever find one, I'm going to shut up about it and just make my money and go about doing my thing, which most of my clients do. But one example, I have a couple of clients that are in like family law, taxing and accounting, and it's literally like one with a veterans benefit thing for a veteran of the country that's either homeless or undercared for or not currently getting benefits. They show them and walk them through the process and get them their benefits, and all they do is take a small little piece of it after the claim's been approved. So for a veteran, that's a no-brainer. They're on the streets and they're like, this country beat me down. This guy's going to show me how to do it. He's going to walk me through it. It's actually done for me. He's going to do all the steps, and I don't give him nothing till I'm eating my food and in my residence with shelter and a roof over my head. Then I give them back a little percentage. It's a no-brainer. That's kind of like a bleeding out offer. I have another one that does some type of tax evasion. And again, I'm not a CPA. I don't know enough about the accounting world, so I might get my terminology wrong. But basically, as he hits people that have very, very pressing tax issues that are going to actually send them to jail. And basically, hey, take me up on this offer, or you've already seen the statement and you've already received the warnings. You know you're going to end up in jail if you don't get this solved. That's a bleeding out offer. If you're a businessman or a family man, you don't get this accounting or tax issue solved, you're going to go to jail, right? These are kind of no-brainers. Like, it's got to get done. So I'm just giving you some examples. There's tons of them out in the marketplace, and a lot of them stare you in the face. But again, a majority of these, and what we're looking for within DaaS is, how do I position this as the strongest keep me up at night offer? And do I really know, do anybody on this call running a DaaS agency or reselling this, do you really know what is keeping your prospect up at night? Um, you know, and again, in the image I like, just because Homer's always funny, and you can tell he's got that pissed off look on his face, like he just wants some damn sleep, but this can't get out of his head, right? Does anybody really know that with their clients or their marketplace? Because if you do and you've done your research, you really should, and that should be your lead in and your hook on all your primary ad campaigns and subject lines and your initial ads, right? Whatever that pain point is, you should dig into that and then talk about the solution and then make the one promise that they can't live without. Lower cost per lead and acquisition, higher quality, lower wasted ad spend, eliminate the stupid testing phase within Facebook and Google's, whatever it is, and that thing, that's what you should be diving into. And we can talk about that stuff some more. But again, the stronger we position the offer, and the reason it's hard to just run through this university and say, this is how you do it as a DaaS client, it's because everybody's doing it different. Somebody wants the low fulfillment DaaS agency. Somebody's going to do the fulfillment and the retargeting or the reactivation. And there's going to be a way different way I package that. I price that. So I can't just give a universal, as a DaaS client, this is how I would do it. I can give some general outlines, and that's what I'm going to cover when I do the kind of segue, which I'm transitioning in now. It's how does this whole offer thing and this lesson kind of translate into Audience Lab and DaaS specifically, which I'm going to dive into. But again, really quickly, I just want to recap. The 4 types are must be nice, annoyance, keeps me up at night offer, and bleeding out offer. Again, the only way, and you as the business owner should definitely know which one you fall into, the only way these ever really change levels or layers is due to who you're selling it to exactly, meaning how sophisticated the audience is or how strong and how pressing of a pain point that thing is. It could change from, must be nice to annoyance or annoyance to keep me up at night. It can never really change into bleeding out. That's the one you either have it or you don't. It's like they say with legends and anything, whether you go back to musical icons or sports icons, there's those guys that come along once every 20, 40, 50 years and they're just like, they have it, right? It's the same thing with these bleeding out offers. They just have it, and that industry has that pain point. And a lot of those, almost all of those, aren't within the digital marketing realm, or these gurus would have found them and created offers for them by now, but they're not. They're more in the medical field. A lot of them, believe it or not, a lot of weight loss offers fall into the either keeping me up at night or the bleeding out. The best weight loss gurus and programs and trainers and the ones that make the most money and book the most calls every year, they have offers that go into the bleeding out phase where if you don't get this solved, you're not going to walk your daughter down the aisle when she gets married, right? That's the thing. Oh shit, that's a little different than, hey, I need to lose a few pounds or I'm a little overweight, right? Once it's like, if I don't lose these pounds, I'm not going to be healthy to walk my daughter down the aisle. It's a whole different perspective from the prospect's mindset. And again, all goes back to how we use our words, how we're messaging, how we're positioning, and really the understanding we have of who we're talking to, meaning where they're at, sophistication level, and how pressing is their pain point with this offer. And then that's going to dictate really how I craft my messaging and how I talk to that person, that audience, I should say, not individually, as a larger audience. We can make demographics. The other thing that matters in terms of how successful you can be with these offers and how they change levels is the timing in the marketplace. For instance, there's a lot of guys that I know, and even one of my early offers that did over $1 million on about $1,000 digital course by itself. That almost can't and won't happen again from anybody that doesn't already done it, or maybe that already has a huge following. But if you take somebody like myself or somebody like a few of the guys I could mention right off the top of my head that did this in 2017, 2018, just kind of popped up out of nowhere, and did $1 million in sales with just digital courses in the $1,000 ballpark price point, not high ticket back end fulfillment programs, but just digital courses. That time the market has passed. I can almost guarantee you're not going to see that happen again from anybody that hasn't already done it. And even the people that have already done it, if you've noticed, they've gone to more of a real low ticket subscription model, buying one-offs or more higher end packages that aren't just a digital course and it's more of a mastermind or a done with you type of service. So again, market timing, and that kind of plays into market sophistication to an extent, but market sophistication can vary in real time, where what's going on in a market, like the market's timeline is not changing the same way like sophistication level. For instance, I can target 4 different sophistication level audiences for the same product or service, and I could do it 4 different ways. There's not 4 different timelines in the marketplace right now. There's only one, right? So that's kind of the different there. And then the last aspect to making these things more or less successful, and again, I've seen people be able to do this, and I've done this kind of without this, but this is certainly what we're all going for and what the big gap is in the market. If we took all the problems in the market and I threw 1,000 of them on a dartboard and was hitting darts, the one in the middle, the bullseye, would be trust in the marketplace. Right now, that's what's missing. That's the biggest gap, and that's what people are searching for. So as service providers, whether we are an influencer and have a following, whether we're introverted and behind the scenes and only run ads and emails and we never really put our face out there, doesn't really matter. We are still trying to garner trust in the marketplace, and trust specifically with our ideal audience and the people in our list, right? The people we're hitting with our emails, our ads, our content, whatever we're doing. So that's a constant, and that's something that is really not that hard. I mean, it's also not something you're going to build overnight and go from no clients to building market trust the next day. That's dumb to think you can do that. But just by simply recording and keeping track and receipts of everything you're doing, every call you book, every deal you close, and then once your clients start doing that very quickly, you all of a sudden have 50 screenshots of people saying closed a 10K deal, hey, just landed another client, hey, 2K deal here. And then once you have 50 screenshots of that and you show that to people in an email, they're like, damn, if 50 other people could do it, why can't I do it? You're building trust and you're changing that belief. That's what we're always doing. I had a great guest on in my PDocs brand. I run this live stream series where I have guests on occasionally. And last week I had a real uh, one of the top expert copywriters in the whole industry. He's currently writing for Todd Brown, Grant Cardone, some of the bigger names and huge campaigns. And he was talking about making that belief shift via marketing arguments. And I thought it was brilliant because I do that, but even me, I've never used that phrase or that terminology because I don't think it really totally correlates to my market and the sophistication level of most of the people that see my stuff. When they hear a marketing argument, they don't realize that that just really means compelling messaging and another way to say it. But I love the way that Keith broke it down because he's like, you have to shape an argument and change this person's belief as if you were a lawyer, right? You have to first show the problem, show the unexpected solution, show the overwhelming evidence of proof, not just one case study or one result. Show it in practice, show it in live campaigns, show it in screenshots, show it in live testimonials, right? So the preponderance of evidence leads them to no other conclusion than this guy can be trusted and this product or service works, right? And I thought it was really good how he went through that framework. If you guys want to check it out, my YouTube channel or wherever I post the replays to any of these at school, those are just on my YouTube channel. So once you click on there, probably the most recent full-length video is the live stream with Keith Dingler, expert copywriter. He made some great points. Matter of fact, he gave away this awesome framework that he went through on how he does this and how he literally just drove 7,000 registrants to one live webinar he's running. He expected that to be over 10,000 by end of the day when we were talking. That's how quick it was growing. But as he was saying that, he's like, you guys might not think that's a huge deal. And I stopped him in real time. I was like, to be honest, Keith, a massive amount of my clients would have died to drive 7,000 registrants to all the webinars they've ever run, not one that they're running a campaign to right now. So certainly this guy had some great real-time examples of what he's doing, but he shared all the frameworks and the thought process and then the entire document that goes behind that. So again, kind of a tangent, a sidebar, but if you guys want that, go check out my YouTube channel. It's there on the video down in the description. It's Keith's document. I linked it down there so just everybody could access it without me having to send it to a bunch of people. Before I get into a Q&A, there's one other thing I kind of want to cover here today. And again, that's kind of correlating some of this stuff to what you guys asked me. Both some of these questions and some of these points I have on the screen, I get asked prior to people signing up. Usually, and a lot of the answer to this falls into what we do when we meet for a one-on-one call. And we start to build that out, but I think it's good to refresh or revisit that, I should say, not refresh, but revisit. And then even after people are clients, and especially weeks or months after we've had that call, when they either didn't implement it or didn't move on it right away, or maybe we didn't cover everything that I'm going to go through here specifically. But people I think these are things that I keep getting asked again on every level of people's journey within Audience Lab. Before they work with us, right when they sign up, and even weeks and months after working with us, I keep getting asked some of these same questions. So I kind of wrote down some of the bullet points. And I just want to go over these real quick. And again, some of these correlate to what I was talking about earlier, having your offer dialed in. And are you sure your Keep Me Up at night offer, which is, I guarantee you, what all you guys have access to. Now, are we positioning it that way? And do we know the pain points enough or the sophistication level of the market so we can package it and get the perceived value that way? That's hard to say. And that's what I want to cover in a little more depth here. But I'm telling you, that's definitely the layer or level of offer you guys definitely all have selling DaaS. And again, it's just very important to obviously position that right. Sorry, just had something. Can you please share a document? I was 20 minutes late. Yeah. So, well, the only document I covered so far, Georgetta, is the one I share every week. I think that's the only one I've shared with anybody. What I was going over after that was all images, and I just now brought up this document on my screen. Oh, Eduardo just dropped it in the chat right as I did. That's the one I go over every week. This one I'm happy to share too, if you guys would like in a minute. I literally just brought this up though. Let me go over it here first. But again, these were some questions I get. So start off with and again, this is what we go through in that one-on-one THO call or fastest path to cash call that I do with clients. But hey, so, to know if you were in my shoes, how would you position this being, Audience Lab services and DaaS? How would you sell it so it's low fulfillment, and what market would you go after? Right? All great questions. We're going to dive into all of these. He goes on to say this is kind of an extension of the question. It could be any market. Doesn't have to be, in this case, the person who asked me the question, the current e-commerce market that I'm in, but I'm open to pivoting and I'm open to open to anything considering we'll be doing the outreach. Open to anything. Okay, I got what he's saying. I just worded it a little wrong. So what I would say to that, and many of you guys have heard me talk about this, many may have not. So again, whether it's a revisit, whether it's a first time, hopefully it's still relevant, right? But number one, I could talk about the markets that as a co-owner and getting to see all the data each month, I could talk about the markets or the niche and industries that I know we have the most users in platform month in and month out, pulling lists and reusing it and monetizing it and seeing success. I know that is real estate mortgage. I'm going to kind of lump into one. That's insurance, which again, I could branch out, but let's just keep it as insurance for now. That's solar, that's e-commerce, and general home services are the top 5 niches and industries month in and month out that are having the most lists pulled and disseminated to the actual brands or advertisers or end client. So that might be one way I would start. Hey, do I want to go in one of the most populated niche? There's pros and cons to that. If they're the ones most pulled off the platform every month and the ones most sold, they're probably the most saturated industries as well, right? With other DaaS agencies also trying to hit them. So there's going to be pros and cons to both. What I've always said, and personally, when I'm going into any new market, if I'm starting my agency from scratch and I'm really starting off with trying to pick the niche or the industry that I'm going to be serving, I usually go one of 2 routes and then I'll branch each one off. But I'm either going to go with something I have a past expertise and experience and work history in, and I have the credentials and the accolades and the experience and the confidence, or I'm going to lean towards something that I have a passion and an interest, and I'm going to enjoy the hell out of having conversations with these business owners as I'm learning the industry better. So again, for myself, my background is sales, customer relations, customer service, high ticket marketing, and digital products. So I could go and attack any of those realms and actively speak the lingo and keep my conversation and know what I'm talking about. So that might be where I start. For instance, one of the examples I give in one of my main tutorials and one of my best clients that really kind of took my suggestion and ran with it, and I love this one. The guy who told me he wanted to go into the sporting good industry and work with sporting goods stores. And I was like, hey, Tom, that's a great idea, my friend. But just think about it. If you go work with Rawlings and they sell a $4.99 baseball and a $17.99 football, how many units do you got to move for it to make tens or hundreds of $1,000s in the bottom line? Right. So, and I'm not to say there's not ways to do that. There certainly is. But I personally look for ways with less quantity and more end result, where I could send 5 clients and it's going to make a big deal rather than having to send 5,000 sales to make a difference in their business. Right. So what I said to Tom was, okay, you're going into sporting goods. I would look at a higher ticket, avenue. And I was like, hey, Tom, personally, I'm not a big golfer, but I know any of my buddies that golf, when they go on a golf website and they buy a new club or a new shirt, they're not spending less than a couple $100. It's not a cheap sport, right? Turns out he ended up, Callaway is now his biggest client. As a lot of you guys may know, Callaway is the 3rd largest golf manufacturer in the US last time I checked. Could be 4th, could be 2nd. I don't know. I'm not a huge golf aficionado, but I did look it up when he told me about it, and they were the 3rd largest manufacturer. And he went to them and just took my golf idea and ran with it with a tee. Everything we talked about, he found out their information, got in their inbox, created a message that intrigued them to at least raise their hand and say, I'm interested in learning more. Started off on a performance-based compensation, just showing them the data works. Went into a $5K a month monthly agreement on the data in month 1. Last time I talked to Tom, I know Callaway was paying him over $40,000 a month for the data and the services and the list he was providing. And that number has probably gone up since then. And that was only one client. And I know Tom, just so you guys know, he was in our 5K a month DaaS package, whatever level that was when he bought in. I want to say it's DaaS scale, but again, I would have to double check. So he's paying us 5K a month still for all this data. He's got one client paying him 40K a month. Again, he's got other clients in Callaway. Since he and I last spoke, I'm almost willing to bet they're a bigger client, because every time I talked to him, they were going up and up. Slowly, monthly, incrementally, because he was kind of doing what we say early on. You start with the low-hanging fruit, and he started with the SuperPixel and just resolved their identities. And then he said, hey, let me build some of your targeted audiences for some of the ads you're running to cold audiences. Showed results there. Then he mixed in match rate optimization, and then he went further and further into kind of the Trojan horses that we talk about in the DaaS launch book. So he just, every month or 2, he was providing extra value, trying out something else, showing results, and then billing them for it the following month till that account kept growing. So the other avenue I was talking about, and again, that was somebody who came into the call with a very preconceived notion of, I want to go in the sporting good industry. His past experience was more in the corporate, so he wasn't selling to them, but he knew the industry really well, which was great. I just told him pick something that has good margins where, again, you can drive less overall volume and still deliver high results. A lot of you guys, but I'm kind of a live music junkie. I've been to somewhere between 500 and 1,000. Do not sell the less model for less than $2,000. So what could I do? I could go generate leads and lists for local guitar shop owners and send them over again, even 5 clients per month buying his lowest model guitar. That'd make a difference of 10 G's into his business. Now, what's the odds we only send 5 if that's kind of my bottom of the barrel? I almost know I'm going to send more. What's the odds all 5 buy his lowest model guitar and none buy an upgrade or a nicer version? Probably very, very slim that they all buy the entry level model. So probably even more meat on the bone. I'm just saying, worst case scenario, 5 people buying his lowest model would still drive 10 G's. And when I call those business owners, I can shoot the shit and have fun talking about guitar models, guitar players, some of the live ones I've seen in this area, pick his brain. We would shoot the shit and have fun. And then I'd say, hey, if I could get more people in your door to buy some more guitars, would that help out your business? Cool. You got 10 minutes where I can just lay out that blueprint and show you how to do that? Cool, man, let's do it, right? And like start off friendly, lead it down to a road of solving a problem. And hey, if I could show you one very specific problem, promise, right? That's all I said. That's what I like to do with my marketing. Hey, if I could get you a few extra people in your shop each month that buy some guitars, would that help your business? Very, very direct statement and very, very direct promise. It's very rare that a business owner is going to say, no, Ray, that wouldn't help me to drive in more buyers in my shop that actually buy my products, right? It's kind of hard to say no to that. So again, start off friendly. If you enjoy or you have a passion or an interest, or you have a background in experience, expertise, you can talk those lingos and navigate your way through those conversations. So you build rapport, you're friendly, and then you just ask for the opportunity. Hey, if I could show you how to do this, would it do this for you? Yeah, right, it would. Cool. You got 10 minutes where I could walk you through the blueprint of how we would do that, and then we'll talk price if it makes sense. Yeah, sure, let's do it, right? So again, that's kind of my talk on that, generally speaking. Again, so looking at it, let me just recap there. I could go look at which audience lab niches and industries are the most agencies now pulling the most data. Real estate, insurance, mortgage. Again, I kind of lumped real estate, solar, e-commerce, general home services. Those are month in and month out what we see the most. Or do I want to go into my own niche where my expertise, my experience, or my passion and my interest? Me, I'm always going to go toward the latter of those. Not to say there's no right or wrong here. They can both work and they both do work. But I'm just walking you through my thought process. So that's what I think when somebody kind of asked me a question like this, right? And then he went into a little more specific questions in this particular one. And actually, I took a bullet point of a handful of questions that I've gotten throughout the process of people before they've worked with Audience Lab, early on, or even weeks later, questions that I've just seen redundantly. And one is, how are the highest performers selling this? And who to? Well, the who to I can't answer. That's going to be so variable. And you guys know this that follow any of our successful clients. If you see what Brandon was doing with his, who to, what I think of is when I think of like how are the highest performing DaaS agencies selling this, who to? Do they have an existing market or are they going to a cold market? Because based on my foundations and most of you guys on the call, if you don't have a warm market or a previous, warm list, or you don't have, influencer clout per se or already trust, and you're going to a cold market, I want to mimic a DaaS agency more like Brandon, who did this from cold traffic, right? He pulled 5,000 emails out of the Audience Lab Deep Verified. He ran his messaging to them. He booked X amount of appointments or leads, and he closed 27 deals to a cold audience. So I probably want to go mimic him if I was doing that. Now, if I had a warm audience, people that bought from me before, people on my list, people I would say consistently consuming content, newsletters, whatever, like Landon, who built, he got his DaaS agency to over 140K a month off of going to his warm audience in his newsletter campaign. So again, highest performers, it's really hard to say who they're selling it to because it's going to be really contingent on the foundations or what they have going into this. We would look at guys like Emmett. Emmett started with a very small network, basically from scratch. Emmett, very low fulfillment model, just sell the data hands off. Now he's less than 3 hours in fulfillment per month, he was telling me, and his agency has now crossed 60K in monthly recurring revenue. So I might go look at what he's doing if that's kind of what I want to mimic. So I could go through 5 or 10 more of these, but they're all going to have their own variations. There's no saying he's selling to this and this is his agency style because they all have different skill sets. They all have different, foundations of where they started and where they're at. And they all have different aspirations and goals. Some want to merge this into a full stack agency and provide everything and charge a higher ticket. Some just want to be hands off and charge this where there's margins, but low fulfillment. So again, a lot of variables go into this. And again, that kind of carries right into the next point. If you were to approach this, what market would you sell this in? I definitely addressed that, already. How are the pixels themselves, the identity resolution sold? How would you best position that? So again, guys, questions I get asked before people work with us when they first sign up, and even weeks and months later. And it's simply how to reactivate, how to resolve your bound visitors or anonymous traffic and turn them into more sales. What I tell people very simply is, hey, Bob, who has a more likelihood of buying something from you? Somebody who visited your website in the last month, or somebody in your next cold email campaign? And they're like, well, probably somebody that visited my website and knows about my branding. Shouldn't we identify and target those people rather than more pulling lists and just blasting cold emails and seeing what sticks? What's a better solution for you going forward? Right? Or, hey, if they've already visited your website, Bob, and then we took that audience and identified them and looped them into a retargeting campaign and said something like, hey, Bob, we saw you visited our XYZ website here in the last 30 days. We're sorry to see you didn't, book an appointment or opt in for our newsletter. Hey, we have this special going just for our loyal website visitors, 15% off your entire cart value if you check out in the next 24 hours, or 10% off your entire job value if you book with our team in the next 24 hours, right? So we can retarget them right where they fell off the funnel. We know they already visited the site, saying, hey, we saw you visited our site. Some warm words and encouragement, and sorry they didn't become a member of your family already, and then some urgency or discount to move forward now. That's almost always going to convert to a warm audience better than any cold email campaign that you're going to blast out to some list that you've just generated, right? So there's all kinds of ways I can walk through this, but that's the low-hanging fruit. Take people that are already aware of your brand, retarget them and make them aware, right, Bob? They visited your website. They had some interest. Now, why they didn't check out? Did a call come in and they opt off your page? Did they look at price and get scared? What is that? I don't know. But if we retarget them and get them back on your calendar, we might be able to find out and actually close them, right? So, you just walk them through that process. Again, I went through these above. He was asking like our clients that do more than 100K a month. I can certainly think of a handful of them right off the top of my head. How are they packaging this? Again, most of them had. There's only one or two I'm thinking off the top of my head, and I should have labeled them on here. I would reach out to them before I use their names because a couple of them have been clients for a while and aren't as forward facing. So I should probably clear it before I do everyone's names. But just thinking about it, almost all of them exclusively. There's one or two I can think of that have got above 100K with no pre-existing trust audience list, just starting from scratch. Those two specifically, there's definitely two that I know of. I mean, we may very well have more. And there's definitely more of them that had more established foundations, we'll say. But those two almost predominantly offered full stack marketing agencies. So when they came into this, they already had a 30 or 40 or 50K a month agency. They turned it into over 100K with just DaaS products in addition to that by offering their ads, their emails, their marketing, and first party data. So what they did is, let's just say their full stack marketing monthly retainer and service price was 5K per month for their ad management, email, and GHL or CRM setup, whatever, right? And then it's cool. We have this 5K, or you can get our premium for 6K, which includes in-market first-party data. So you pay $1,000 more for access to our premium, and then we build you in-market intent-driven first-party data lists to significantly drop your cost per lead and acquisition. Then we just charge you a la carte X amount for each list you need above the first one per month. So you offer your standard services as you were. You offer premium services with in-market first-party data for more of a monthly premium, and then you charge a la carte for every list or every audience you pull for them. That's how I've seen both those clients do that very, very successfully. Again, they had existing agencies, but they were talking about, and when they told me they're 100K per month, they said that was in DaaS services and charges, not their normal services. So again, other ways to look at it. I'll get to a couple questions in just 1 second. I see Jeremy in there. I think I have some in the chat. And 50K per month. I covered that a little. And with the amount of time I got, if you guys don't know already, you're much better off just going back in this school and looking up the Emmett workshop and just taking your time and going through it. Much better than I can summarize here in 2 minutes. There's no way I can encapsulate the best way to build an Emmett agency outside of taking the time to watch him tell you exactly what he did step by step and show you the framework in the document to do it, right? So we have that workshop in the school community there. So yeah, let me stop screen share for a minute. Let me go check the chat. And Jeremy, you were the first one with your hand raised, so go ahead, unmute and ask whatever you had, and then I'm going to dive into the chat. If anybody else, Jeremy, one sec before you go. If anybody else has a question and wants me to call on them, just type a 1 in the chat or use the hand raise emoji on Zoom if you know how to do that, or you can just type a 1 in the chat. Go ahead, Jeremy.
Hey, dude, real quick. So then you say someone just said, hey, let me just do like a performance-based thing, just get their foot in the door, right? And if you were to do that, and you were to offer that based off of, well, just what would you offer? What would be your performance?
And again, it depends on what I'm doing. Let's just say in the case I said the guy was going to Callaway
Okay,
and
well,
he was going to offer identity resolution right off the bat.
For me, real quick, it might be like a TRT clinic, right? Testosterone replacement therapy, right?
Well, okay, so let me ask you, is it going to be somebody more with significant website traffic? It would be more through the audience builder you'd be doing proof of concept.
That's what I'm asking.
Well, I don't know. You're just telling me the market. You need to know how much web traffic they get. I mean, I don't serve that market.
Yeah, no, I haven't either. I was just.
That's what you need to identify first. Is it probably more of a lot of web traffic? Because the low-hanging fruit, if they're getting significant traffic, especially on performance, is starting with the SuperPixel. Now, if you're doing in-market audiences, depending on the plan you're in, how many audiences you have, Jeremy, I don't really like to waste many of those on proof of concept deals. So if I'm going to do a proof of concept on an audience, I'm still going to charge a small setup fee. Hey, we'll do a proof of concept, Jeremy. No cost, no monthly obligation, but I need $500 to cover my hard cost for at least this first list I'm going to pull. And then we'll see how it works. We'll embed it in your campaigns and we'll talk about if we want to keep this arrangement going forward. So even a performance based, if I'm doing it there, I'm going to get a little something up front to cover my hard costs and wasting a list on that person. With the SuperPixel, if it is significant traffic, and what Tom did in this case with Callaway is, hey, Jeremy, let me throw my SuperPixel onto your website. Let's leave it there for 2 weeks, about 15 days, and let's see how many people we resolve. And then in this case, there was about 6,000 names, emails, and phone numbers. And then he took that list, he went back and showed it to Callaway. Hey, Jeremy, if I was to give you back the name and email and phone number of 6,000 people that visited your website this month, would you like to run marketing campaigns to these guys? Yeah. And then he sold it back per list or per lead or however he did it at that time.
Do you think that would work just based off your experience? Do you think that would work for a car dealership?
Most likely. The auto industry is going to be a little different because it's not like you're just, I mean, you got to drive first people in the door for test drives. And then depending on how high end and the price point, why I think it works really well for most dealerships is you drive one buyer through that's buying a 60K Lexus that's going to 10X whatever they're paying you for marketing dollars. So it is an easy win in terms of showing, like, if you can show a closed deal and end result. It's kind of hard to do, though, because you got to figure out how much foot traffic do I need to drive in before this dealership closes a deal. So a lot's contingent on the dealership location. You're not actually closing the deal for them. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So it's weird when I look at certain industries to go into. If I'm selling leads based on performance, and it always is going to come back in some way, shape, or form to convert deals or close deals. I need to know that that sales team is competent, their industry standard. So I would look for auto dealerships right now that are selling the most cars in any area. Those are the ones I would approach. The ones with the highest commission reps in the areas, the ones you know are moving volume, where I know they can close people. I'm happy to send them through the door. But if I'm going to some dealership where my rep is closing 1 out of 20 people, I mean, my odds of driving them actual business kind of sucks, and it's not really my fault.
Right. Okay. Thanks, man.
Awesome. So other comments in there. George had a great approach. Thank you. How do you verify the Pixel works for a client? So you just do the Pixel install onto the website. If you need any help walking through that, Andrew Ruffino on our team, you can message him in school. Andrew Ruffino is the best Pixel expert. The only time you're not going to be able to show a result if you didn't install it right or it didn't fire properly. So once you're past that install and the firing phase and you know that it's firing, what it's going to do is it might take 24 hours to start to get the first resolution. It should be faster. Worst case scenario, though, once it's installed and firing, it's going to start resolving the identities after 24 hours at most. It should even be quicker than that. I usually like to give it about a 2-week ramp up period because it's going to resolve on average about 30 to 60%. And I want their time for them to drive 1,000 or 2,000 people there so I can show them, a good amount of people resolve. But it's going to start firing and working pretty much right away. The only way it wouldn't is if no traffic's going to that website. If you throw a pixel on a site with no traffic or visitors, it's not going to do shit for you. You know what I mean? But yeah, if you're having any issues with it or understanding, if it's firing right, get with Andrew Ruffino. Again, message him in school or just DM me. I'll give you his direct email and contact information, and he can walk you through the process or troubleshoot it and see what's going on from our end and figure that out. That's the only time I've seen pixels not resolved. They're not installed properly, or they never did the initial fire and it didn't test whatever, right? I don't even do that process myself anymore. It's been a while since I've done it. But Andrew can definitely walk you through that. Yep, I put that down, Eduardo. I did put that down in my suggestions, and we'll try to create like a company directory of best contact information for each department or each feature, I would say. Audience building, this guy, pixel, this guy. Yeah, I see what you're saying. That is in my notes, and I will get that created for you. Okay, you already, I just saw your comment now, Mile. Yeah. Excellent. I'm glad you saw that. How do we receive identities from the pixel? You can receive them in a number of ways. It really depends on how you initially got it set up. So you can have the pixel resolve the identities, and just like an in-market audience, you can kind of set that up to go to one of a number of places. You could just have it go to a regular Google spreadsheet and put it all on a Google sheet. You could have it sync into a CRM and upload right into a client's, GHL or HubSpot or whatever. You could literally sync the resolved identities right into a targeting campaign in your Meta Facebook ad manager. So again, you would want to get with our team, Andrew, and he would walk you through the integration and automations or set you up. And there might be one other guy on our team that even helps him with that. But he would walk you through that. But it really depends on how you want to receive them or how the client wants them. You can kind of send them, generally speaking, to pretty much any format or any channel that they need. And I think the easiest thing, generally speaking, especially on a trial basis, is just to print it out on a Google, send it to a Google sheet, and then just show them, hey, I got the name, email, phone number of 3,000 of your website visitors. Would you like to market to these? It's only X amount per lead or X amount per list, and I'll generate you 2 per month or whatever, right? And then you start talking compensation and if they want to actually buy the leads back and market to them. But yeah, I would say, especially on a performance, on a performance-based like trial type of plan, I would more send it to a Google sheet most likely. Cool, guys. I think that hit up all the questions, and we got less than 3 minutes to go. So I tried to jam as much value and as much lesson as I can. Hopefully, I got to everybody's questions. Looks like I got to everybody, unless I missed them there in the chat. And again, this replay will be uploaded to school within the next 2 business hours. Just give me a couple hours to run my next team call and let this convert, and I'll have this uploaded to the client school channel as well. Eduardo, you got one more quick one?
Yeah, I was gonna ask, you said like 5 to 8 people and they had different business models within Audience Lab. So one was only selling data, the other one was scaling this. Would there be a way that we could have the names of those people and what they did exactly? So kind of like a visual of this is how 8 very successful people are making their business. So one does pixel food in the door and then this a la carte. The other one just does audiences, no fulfillment. The other one just does this. So I think that would give newcomers a very clear thing. Okay, I'm definitely not getting into this, but these 3 are my options.
Yeah. No, I mean, that's a good idea. We can go a little deeper in that in case you guys haven't seen, just so some of you guys know. And that's a great point. I think we should go a little more in depth. And to do that, and I was just thinking about it today on this call, but thank you for bringing it up. I also got to clear it with a couple of the clients to just make sure they're cool with that before I share their information. I don't think they won't be, but a lot of them we already had the okay from. So something that just got added recently, and again, some of you guys might be newer. When you go into the client success series, for instance, Brandon shows you exactly how he did this to cold traffic and closed 27 deals quickly. Landon, 145K a month DaaS agency. He had more of a pre-existing structure and infrastructure. Nick was another one that did really well. Nick shows you his model down there. So we've already started to build that out as clients have hopped on workshops, but I'm happy to dive in and give you guys some other ones that maybe haven't been on workshops, that have been more behind the scenes that you guys haven't seen yet.
Maybe even do a workshop about it, or have a whole sales calls on that for new people, like people who are just starting or just doing one thing, that we really see all the potential clear, structured in a way. I mean, based on what people say in the chat, I think I'm not the only one here.
No. I mean, it makes sense. And again, we've already started to build it out, but we've tried to build it out, as you see, with people we've already had on workshops that have volunteered and wanted to come and share theirs. Some people just want to grow their agency in the back and shut up and keep their money and just don't want to be bothered, right? So I gotta run it by people. I'm not going to go giving people's names or volunteering them for workshops that they're not comfortable with, is my point. But yeah, no, it's a great suggestion.
Fair enough.
That's on my list here.
Even if it's not the name, but you know the way, that would still be helpful.
Yeah,
Like,
I can definitely do that. I'd rather get them all in on it. So I'm gonna go reach out to a few of these guys this week, early next week maybe, because I know a lot of people are on vacation. But yeah, excellent suggestions. Thanks, guys, and we will see you next week, same time, same place. Bye bye, everyone.